Hello, my name is Joy Erdman, and I'd like to share my thoughts on elevating your elevator speech. What was that? What's an elevator speech? It's a short and simple talk you could give in a chance meeting in the time it takes to ride an elevator, usually about 60 seconds. And 60 seconds is all it takes to effectively engage another person. My favorite book on improving your interview skills, which I'll return to later in this video, recognizes the value of 60 seconds. It's titled 60 Seconds and You're Hired. So today I'd like to challenge you to develop an elevator speech or improve the one you already have, a few sample sound bites that should be in your IH leadership toolbox. These sound bites could not only be used to describe what you do, but also could be used in many situations, like if you run into someone who could help you solve a problem, or meet a high up who asks you an out of the blue question that requires thinking quickly on your feet. Let's look at 4 techniques that can make elevator speeches more interesting and help you think quicker and communicate better in a chance encounter. 1, the use of stories. 2, the use of analogies. 3, the use of light humor. And 4, the use of asking questions. First, the use of stories. Here's a story that I remember from my early career. I started my career in California at a field activity with the U.S. Navy as a field industrial hygienist. My second job took me to London to lead the U.S. Navy's occupational health program across the European region. It was at this location at an afternoon work cocktail party with visiting U.S. Navy dignitaries that my husband was asked what he did. His field was nuclear weapons and intelligence. He said that he worked in nuclear weapons and his job was to help the Navy kill the enemy. But without missing a beat, he added, "But Joy's job is much more important than mine because she improves the safety and health of all of our warfighters and civilians." This response was especially well received because the attendees were from the medical community and they could all feel proud about how important the medical profession is to the military. In this example, I think my husband did a better job than I would have ever thought of, and there's nothing better than having someone else recognize your value. Second, analogies. Analogies are great because they help people get a quick and clear picture from a comparison. When asked what exactly our profession does, analogies can be helpful. You might say something like, "It's tricky to understand what an industrial hygienist does because we do so many things." And here I'm going to give you a long list that you could choose from. We're like engineers because we solve problems and help build engineering controls to protect workers. We're like doctors in that we diagnose and treat sick workplaces. We're like lawyers because we're focused on complying with laws, reducing risk, and acting ethically. We're like accountants in that we track what we do and try to save our employers money. We're like psychiatrists because we listen and help people cope with their challenging working conditions. We're like detectives because we often have to snoop out problems and root causes. We're like coaches, encouraging both workers and management to improve their game and work as teams. In our case, the game here is for all workers to go home healthy. And for upper management, their game includes complying with regs and staying out of negative press. IHs truly do champion the value of all work and all workers. You could conclude with something like, "I feel like the blind man and the elephant. What we industrial hygienists do all depends on your perspective." The third technique, sometimes light humor can help. Here's an example trying to sell the value of IH. How do we know when we're successful? Well, we're successful when nothing happens. But that doesn't mean we do nothing. I can't think of a profession that works harder to prevent bad things from happening, which makes it even harder for us to justify our value. Here's another one. For people who question the IH or ESOH professional moniker, I've used this response. "I think we're the invisible profession." I don't hear people questioning nurses, even though they do much more than nurse babies, or engineers who rarely work with engines. If this one is done right, hopefully you'll get a chuckle or a nod of agreement, especially if you follow up with a further description that resonates. Fourth technique is to ask questions. To create your elevator pitch, a good way to start is to ask yourself questions, such as, who am I? What do I do? What makes me unique? What's my goal? What problems do I have? How can I help someone else? And that last one is really critical because in encounters, if you can help them, you pretty much sort of have a friend for life. You can also start an elevator speech with a question. Many IH consultants acquire new clients by asking questions and helping clients solve their problems. I suspect that IH consultants are experts at elevator speeches because they get a lot of practice in quick interactions. Okay, so we just covered 4 techniques to elevate your elevator speech, using stories, analogies, light humor, and asking questions. Now think the 3 C's for your elevator pitch. It should be concise, it should be compelling, and it should be confident. We've covered concise and compelling. I've added confident here because your voice should be in a confident tone, even if you're talking about uncertainties that exist in our work. Now, circling back to the 60 Seconds in Your Hired book, that book shows you how to build a 5-point summary of your skills and how these points would fit into the needs of the employer for which you want to work. These 5 points could easily be worked into a short elevator style speech. Basically, here's what I can do to help you and why you need me over all the other well-qualified candidates. So what is success? Depending on the purpose of your elevator talk, success could be anything from agreement to a needed action, closing out a job interview, an offer of assistance, or gaining a new friend and colleague who could be useful in the future. If it's someone high up in your organization, you may just have helped them understand and value our profession more. This interaction could lead to an interesting job assignment, maybe even a career move. So here's my challenge to you. Please try to elevate your elevator speech. And by the way, it's not just for use in an elevator, it's for any time we run into people who can help further our profession. Thank you so much for showing up to watch this video. Much of success in life is all about showing up. I wish each of you great success, and I hope that you enjoy our profession as much as I do. Bye for now.